Podcast. Going to do a solo episode here because it's May and because there's cruise ships around, and I always get at least a couple messages around this time of year, people that are reaching out and looking for recommendations. So I'm going to kind of go. I'm going to start in Ketchikan here and do some recommendations about where to eat and stuff to do. So if you are on a cruise or if you're in Ketchikan on business or for whatever it is, one of the most important things to do is to pair the city to what it's kind of best out. And if you're in Ketchikan, kind of the best sightseeing thing to do would be to go to the Misty Fjords. It's pretty unique. You have the glacial carved fjords, the national monument. It's beautiful. It's really remarkable and something that you're not really going to see from the air like that. So you can go to some of these other places and you have the glacial carved mountains. But Ketchikan has such a huge fleet of float planes. That's kind of one of the main ticket items to see when you're in Ketchikan. Fishing, if it's after June 15th, then you're going to be able to keep king salmon. I don't know if you can get it back to the cruise ship or what, but I think those would be the two key things to do in Ketchikan. There are some all-terrain vehicle type opportunities and some Jeeps, and there's even a hovercraft. But when I think of Alaska, I don't really think of hovercrafts. So if you're looking for something to kind of pair what's unique about the individual community, I would say fishing or Misty Fjords would definitely be a good thing to do in Ketchikan. There are other things, like I said, there's hovercrafting, there's kayaking, there's zip lining. All those things are pretty cool, but unique to Ketchikan would be Misty Fjords and then fishing. As far as Juneau goes, I haven't been to a Sitka a whole lot, but I should probably go eating first. Well, I'll stay in Ketchikan. Go back to Ketchikan here. As far as eating goes, for breakfast, I think the ideal place to go would be to New York Cafe or to 55 North Bakery. 55 North has scaled back its summer offerings. They had like the chorizo and egg on a biscuit is unbelievable. One of the best breakfast sandwiches, if not the best breakfast sandwich I've ever had. But like I said, they're scaling back for summer, which is pretty sad. Still got an excellent cup of coffee. It's really good coffee. They take some pride in it. There are some places up in Juneau that my wife and I have been to, and it's just really, really ordinary. It's like you're at the teacher in service coffee mix, which is notoriously light because there's so many people there that your teacher in service coffee is just super, super bland, super watered down. It's just not a good cup of coffee, or like a conference type coffee. That's not the coffee that you want. So some of the places up in Juneau kind of sell that, but 55 North has excellent coffee, so I'd go there. I also mentioned New York Cafe has a really good breakfast hash in the morning and also really good chorizo and eggs, and the coffee there is exceptional as well. It's also a good place to go for lunch. They got some good chowder options. Got this Arab style poached egg, which is really good. Mediterranean salad. The Korean style pork belly roll is really, really good. The burger's good. You have a chef that works there. And so you have definitely a feeling that it's not how can we buy the cheapest ingredients and charge the most in order to make the most about it, or make the most out of it. So because you do have a chef, you're going to get a lot more interesting cuisine. You're getting a lot more flavor with it. It's just a lot better than some of the other areas. So New York Cafe, definitely recommend there. Lunch at the Fish House would be great. Your best fish taco in town, I think, goes to the Fish House. The grilled halibut tacos are really good. The chowder's pretty good. Dinner, I think I'd go New York Cafe. If you're in late, I've eaten at Annabelle's probably more than anywhere else, but the last couple of years, if I'm going out to eat, or my wife and I are going out to eat, we're going to Fish House, we're going to New York Cafe or 55 North, and more likely than not, it's going to be New York Cafe. You're just going to get a really consistent food that's going to be a good portion size, and it just does not disappoint. It's always good. You never get the impression, like I said, that they're trying to cut out quality in order to make more. It's just really, really good. So if you are looking for wings, I guess the best wings are probably at Fat Stands. They're pretty solid. They got some decent pizza at Fat Stands too. So that'd be about Ketchikan. Moving north, Sitka, like I said, I haven't spent a whole lot of time there. Mount Edgecombe is beautiful. So if I don't know, I'm sure there's some sort of tour out of there. But there's some interesting um, indigenous culture and Russian culture stuff. There is in Ketchikan too. So I neglected to mention that, but that's definitely there's a lot of great Ketchikan indigenous culture. Of the two totem parks, I'd say that Totem Bite is better than Saxman, but Saxman has an active carver there, so that's I think Totem Bite is the better sort of like walking experience. It's a beautiful spot along the shore. Saxman is kind of tucked up a little bit. So they're both pretty cool. I kind of prefer Totem Bite, but Saxman's really nice too. So Sitka has a lot of Russian influence. It was the Russian capital of Alaska. So there's some Russian history there, and then native history there. So that'd be cool things to check out. As far as breakfast goes, that's really what I mostly remember from my time there. I was usually there as a basketball coach, so it was just kind of getting food, and I don't really remember. I think we ate in the hotel for the most part, so we didn't get a lot of compare and contrast. But I do remember some pretty good breakfast sandwiches at the Highliner, which is just behind the Westmark, I think is the hotel there. Spent more time in Juneau. So as far as Juneau goes, I would say that the best breakfast place is definitely Donna's. That's kind of a staple if you're going to be in Juneau. Head there. Some decent lunch options. My wife and I went to the Sandpiper Cafe, and it was fine. But I think I wouldn't even say beef, but if I do have somewhat of a beef, it's because I ordered what they're not really good at. And if you do that, then it can give you kind of a false idea of what the restaurant is like. So my wife and I had been skiing, and so it was, the big sloppy, or not sloppy, but really good breakfast at Donna's, and then just kind of snacking. And after a couple of days of that, we hadn't really had much like greens, so we were kind of craving greens. So we went there after skiing in the mid afternoon, and got a salad. I got the chicken salad. So it was like chicken salad on top of a salad because like I said, hadn't had anything green in like 3 days. But man, it was just like mixed together in a blender. It was like almost like it had been chewed up. The salad part was fine, and it was a huge portion. But man, the chicken salad was just this kind of scooped glob. And I looked around, and it was clear that that's not their wheelhouse. That's not their best dish. And so it's kind of unfair to judge Sandpiper Cafe based on that. The other stuff looked better, but I would not get that salad there. The hangar is really good. They got some good burgers. Forgotten Peak Brewery out in Auk Bay is awesome. They got a beautiful. It's the old bookstore for University of Alaska Southeast, and so it's got a beautiful spot. And you look out on the ocean. It really seems like you're in a different community downtown of Juneau. It's kind of packed in. You're hemmed in by those tall mountains, and it's beautiful to be in that area. But to be able to go out to Auk Bay and just get a much more relaxed, less, I don't know if claustrophobic is the right word, but it's nice to get that open expanse, and it's perfectly aligned for sunset. So, and they got some pretty solid burgers there, food there, and then the beer is good, and the ambiance is great. And that's typically when you're going to a brewery or brew house, it's almost this precipitous decline. You start off and it's about awesome ambiance and the environment is great, and then the beer is good, and then the food is decent. But I think Forbidden Peak is more pretty solid across the boards. There's a place in Anchorage that has a beautiful environment, beautiful view, but the food is just really decent at best. It's kind of that stereotypical, overly salty, overly buttery, super expensive, and it was a long wait to get in there. That's the 49th Brewing. Is it 49th Brewing? Yeah, I think that's what it is. But that place has great environment and a beautiful view. It's downtown there. But if you're going to get a meal in downtown, I would definitely go to the F Street station. They got an unbelievable halibut sandwich, the best halibut sandwich I think I've probably ever had. So if you want to get into 49th, then go for it. But I'd say a much better meal is going to be at F Street Station. Again, this is in Anchorage. I think Moose Tooth gets a lot of the hype about or for pizza in Anchorage, but I think Hearth is way better. Moose's Tooth has got a lot of variety. It's very popular. The wait's going to be long, but Hearth definitely is just the better pizza. As far as other places go, Spanards, I would definitely maybe prioritize, or definitely, maybe that doesn't make any sense. I would definitely say Spanards would be the best place to get a really nice dinner. It's got great food, great ambiance. The menu's awesome. It's just really good. I would go there before 49th, for sure. Northern Lights Boulevard is where Spanards is, and it's not really anything to look at. You don't have much of a view. Spanards is right next to Barney's Sports Chalet and Alpine Fit, so you can check those out while you're over there in that area. So I'd recommend those. And then I think to get a good local feel and again kind of get an idea of what some of the local entrepreneurs are doing, I think going to Double Shovel would be a great idea there. Jack Lau is one of the co-founders there, and they have excellent ciders, and then they have food trucks, a food truck or sometimes more food trucks in the parking lot. So that place is an industrial area, so again, it's not a great view, but if you're looking for a great experience with local people and really good food out of the food truck, that's definitely the place to go. I think there's always a place for going to, or always a time to go to the popular spot. But a lot of times the popular spot is just, kind of based on hype, and that's where people went. And that was, Humpy's used to be the staple in Anchorage, but it just really isn't anymore. It's kind of past its prime. It's still there, and there's a second location in the airport, and it's fine. It's not that it's bad, but there's just better options. And so if I was going to eat, if I was going to go down the list, I don't know where I'd have breakfast in Anchorage. Have I had a breakfast in Anchorage? Yeah, when I was staying at the Captain Cook, I just had breakfast there, and it was such a good breakfast. I never thought about even going anywhere else. But I'd go to probably lunch at Spanards, get a late lunch there, and then a dinner at F Street Station, or go to Hearth, for lunch, and then Spanards for dinner. I think that would just be pretty unbeatable. The Peanut Factory is pretty good, but again, I just think these other options are better, and I'm glad my buddies that live in Anchorage put me onto all those options there, so I wasn't just going back to the same old places there. As far as things to do, I kind of got off that. I'm not really sure what there is to do off the cruise ship in Anchorage, because I think for the most part, people just kind of land, get taken downtown, and then put into the train and head north to go to Denali or wherever they're going there, the Princess Lodges. I think the coastal trail there is pretty neat, so maybe check that out. But I think, again, most of the times people are going to go to Anchorage and they're going to head out from there. So, and then heading back down to Juneau, kind of all over the place here. But Juneau stuff to do. The main attraction there would just be the glacier. You don't have an opportunity to really get glaciers on that level. So taking a fly out and landing on the glacier, I think would be a cool thing. Or taking a boat that goes up Tracy Arm. If your cruise does have Glacier Bay in there, then you might not want to do that. You might want to do more of the Gold Rush history, because Gold Rush history is really prominent in Skagway and Juneau. So things that have to do with that would be good. Some of the stuff is so expensive to do off the cruise ship. There's some whale watching in Juneau, which would be really good. Jaylene's Alaska is a whale watching tour out of Juneau, and they go out of Auk Bay, I believe, and they're not affiliated with cruise ships. And that's one of the things you can do rather than sign up for the cruise ship tours, you can just not sign up for any of those, and you can book independently. That can be difficult because you have a lot of people that book in advance, and so it's not a matter of you get off the boat and you get a whale tour. You kind of have to plan in advance. So if you are going to be up here in the next couple of weeks or months, you might check Jaylene's for bookings if you want to do a whale watching tour. But they're smaller boats, and so you're not hoarded on there, or you have 30, 50, 70 people on this boat. It's a much more intimate setting, and it's kind of catered to photographers. So if you're on these boats with 4 or 5 other people at tops, you just get a much better feel for just kind of how ordinary people when they go out in the boats, a more intimate setting. You can talk to the captain, so I think that'd be a really cool experience to do if you're in Juneau and you're able to get on one of those whale watching boats, if that's what you're looking at. So headed north to Skagway. The railroad history is definitely there. The gold rush history would be what you'd want to check out there. The Chilkoot Trail is still under construction. There was a landslide a couple of years ago. It just wiped out a lot, so they're still in the process of rebuilding that trail. So you can't do the Chilkoot Trail hike. But a lot of history there. It's a cool little town that has, I don't know, 600 or so people during the winter, and then during the summer, just thousands and thousands. So it's one of those communities that relies heavily on tourism, and it's definitely worth seeing. It's also unique in that it's organized in blocks, which many people notice and remark about in most of the other communities. You don't have those nice, neat blocks. The geography tends to not lend itself very well to that because you got most of these communities are on the edge of these islands, and so you got water on one side, then you got rising landscape on the other. Juneau is one of the largest communities in the United States by square miles, just because it's so long, and you don't have a whole lot of high density housing, but it stretches so far because you can't build up, you can't build deep, you just have to go along the coast, and the prices in Juneau for homes and for land is so astronomical because there's just no land. So Skagway is unique in that regard. So again, I guess to kind of recap, you're going to Ketchikan, Misty Fjords, and native culture. Sitka, Russian culture, native culture. Juneau, glacier, whale watching, gold rush culture. Skagway, gold rush. So, and if this does spur any sort of additional thoughts from anybody, let me know, and I can get into more detail. Places to eat. Anchorage, yeah. Eat at those places. Again, as far as like tourism stuff to do, I don't really know. I think I would just probably leave Anchorage as soon as possible to go fishing on the Kenai Peninsula or head into the interior. As far as like vacationing in Anchorage, I don't know why anybody would do that. You go there, eat some good meals, rent an RV, and get out or get on the train and head somewhere. So appreciate you listening, and we will talk to you next time.